Blizzard answered our biggest WoW player housing fears. I would say most players' fears about housing in general is that they're going to be Garrisons 2.0. People are afraid that they're going to be bad for the game. They're going to make the cities look like ghost towns, and everyone's just going to sit in their houses, jerking off and transmogging, which could be the case. But we'll see. Blizzard's spoken out about this stuff. Let's see what Bellular has to say.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for a few news updates. We're still kind of reeling from all the insane stuff like player housing, dynamic ground mounts, but it's time to get back to business because, well, I'm
excited for
some
housing,
lovely,
hopefully.
excellent news. A few things flew under the radar, and a few of them have turned out just a little worse than we expected.
Real quick, for like some kind of laying of the ground, I'm not a housing Andy, never been a housing Andy, never asked for housing in the game. Once it was revealed, I was happy for the people who wanted it, and I do think it could add something exciting to the game, a way to show off your achievements, a cool place to go do something. I don't know. It could be cool if they do it right. Part of doing it right to me is putting it in hub cities. I don't want the houses to be in the middle of Elwyn Forest or some random far-off place. I think they should be in hub cities to keep people in hub cities, and don't ever put things like an auction house in them, and things will still be viable outside of the houses as well.
But that never
We'll
happens
see if that's what they do.
Today's sponsor. Well, I've been a paid customer for 5 years. It's HelloFresh. Today you'll learn why, and even better, you'll get 10 free meals by going to HelloFresh.com and using code BELLULAR10. That's for new subscribers across 7 boxes, varying by plan. And yes, that's 10 free HelloFresh meals. Again, HelloFresh.com, using code BELLULAR10. And this time what I've just eaten is this speedy, smoky treat. So it was absolutely Flavor Town. And as a plus, it was dead quick and beyond simple to cook. And that's the big benefit. Their chef-designed meals are delicious, and each week you've got a massive range, 50 recipes
you don't have to touch grass
from, with loads of different
basically
add-on options, and they're
only if you're cooking the grass.
Things simple, like say calorie smart meals or their rapid meals. And if you don't like a protein, that's completely fine. You can swap it out for another one. You see, with HelloFresh, I make one decision a week. I set it up in the app, and they just handle the rest. The food arrives at my house. So versus the alternative, they are faster, they are cheaper, they are healthier. I mean, the price of takeout food around Belfast is crazy. All while saving me
It's
hours
crazy.
a week and giving me variety. It is such a great simplification. Simply, their box is left at my apartment, I pop the chilled bag into my fridge, and that's it. A complete no-brainer. So, go to HelloFresh.com and you will get 10 free meals by using code BELLULAR10. That is for new subscribers across 7 boxes, varying by plan. So, 10 free meals. HelloFresh.com, use code BELLULAR10.
Samiccus does a cooking stream, oh god.
Sponsoring the show.
My wife
cooks, not me.
First, a few game
details that are easy to miss. So, patch 1107 will be dropping December 17th. That's just in time for Winter's Veil to refresh and for us to have some more
Should
WoW
be fun
over the holidays.
Yep.
Part of that will, of course, be the Siren Isle, and we now know how long it will take to unlock flying there. Basically, it's going to take 6 weeks, because that's also the amount of time it takes to max out the new ring, which is called Circe Circlet.
How many? It should take 6 weeks. Yeah, if you're basically probably if you're grinding your dick off to get 6 weeks done. If you miss a week, I'm sure there'll be catch-up mechanics. So that's interesting. Yeah, a month and a half. Month and a half, we'll all have our rings grinded out completely. Our cock rings, of course. That's what I'm talking about.
To upgrade
I don't know about
the
the actual in-ring, the game in there.
And when we do that, we get the ability to fly. That means it'll be the 28th of January, which is just in time for 11.1, which we think is going to be in February, perhaps a little bit later on in February. Then another good change is you can turn on War Mode again, because the anniversary area has been made a sanctuary, so you can get an additional 10% XP bonus. And that's kind of it for the live game updates. Blizzard.
Yeah, you know what? You say I hate the idea of the ring. I hated the Forbidden Reach too. I didn't like the Forbidden Reach either. I don't like a grindy piece of, best in slot gear, but I do understand their mechanics behind it. Like, I get why they do it for a .05 patch. It does give you something to do. Whether or not that something is fun, yeah, not every single patch can be, an explosion of new content. It is what it is. It's going to give us something to do. It's a best-in-slot ring. Okay, fine, I'll do it. That's it.
Blizzard have
whatever.
obviously been busy with other things this week, unless you're perhaps interested
Am I excited
in
to do it?
finding
No.
the Mountain Dude on the Emerald Dream server in the US to get some Mountain Dew rewards. Other than that, it's business as usual. That's just live World of Warcraft.
Did anyone go to that thing?
A few other things like interviews with key Blizzard staff. So first, a few interviews with Ian, most notably with PC Gamer, where we now know there are going to be 2 new delves coming in 11.1. Both are going to be goblin themed, and Bran will be picking up a new role. He's going to be able to tank now, as
That's
well
right.
as, of course, DPS and heal. Other than that, it seems the delves are not getting any substantial changes, and outside of the launch scaling bugs, the team basically are happy with how delves have turned out and how much players are enjoying them. Now, we don't know if that means that rewards will be as strong as they've been in Season 1. There could be changes like that, but this...
I actually think they're doing the opposite. I don't think they're going to make gear from delves weaker. I think they're going to be the same. They're going to stay at that, heroic gear. They're not going to go past hero track. But I do think they're going to make Mythic Plus, based on what Ian said in the interviews we read, they're going to make Mythic Plus gear better on the front end. So that way it matches up better with basically, not that you're going to do a delve and the next thing you got to do is a Mythic 7. Because that's ridiculous to jump in as a Mythic 7 as your first Mythic Plus dungeon. So they're going to make gear better on the front end to better match up with what delves drop at a +8 level, at an 8, delve level.
Interview with PC Gamer, so I've got to imagine that it's a little bit more big scale. And the other thing with that interview is it did soft confirm one thing that we've pretty much assumed now that it's been announced, and that is that we're just going to continue getting Bran and that there will not be new delve companions with every season. Next, though, Holly spoke...
They did say there will be a new delve companion in Midnight, though. That was confirmed in the, what's it called? Comeback Kids interview.
The Daily Star, and there's really good news here. Blizzard have got an entire dedicated team for the player housing feature that's coming in Midnight. That means
big.
This is not something the devs are working on between patches or around patches where people are swapping back and forth. This is actually just a full-time job for the people that are on its team, which I think is a very, very good thing indeed. If they're going to do this feature, they've obviously got to do it right. It seems they understand that, and this is getting a hell of a lot of development time. And finally, for player housing, I've got some absolutely insane breaking news. We actually know when this feature is going to be coming out, and it's kind of thanks to
Pre-patch?
the FBI, as in the Federal Bureau of Investigations.
What?
I really don't think any of us saw that coming, but it's actually what's happened. So, take a look at the new roadmap. You can see that where we previously had what we've all just been calling the Homestone icon, we've now got a WoW icon and a house icon, making it abundantly clear that player housing will be releasing in winter of 2025.
Why did the FBI get involved?
Impactful. It means that will be coming out before the Midnight expansion, I would presume as some sort of pre-order bonus.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pre-patch thing, just like, Warbands was. It's a big feature. It'll come out before the expansion. It'll also give them time to fix it up before the expansion actually launches.
Now, you're probably wondering, how did this happen? Why would Blizzard just give up the goose like that? And the FBI? Seriously? What's going on? Okay, so from what I understand, somebody over on Twitter found that the Homestone icon, let's just say it bore a unfortunate resemblance to another icon that is used by people who the internet these days would refer to as .pdf, if you kind of know what I mean. So
wait, what? What? Cyber Division, Federal Bureau of Investigation Intelligence Bulletin, Cyber Division, Innocent Images National Initiative. What the fuck is this? Unclassified law enforcement. What was this? A tied Bogle jewelry, unclassified. What is an innocent image? Pedophile. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is pedophilia? This is a symbol for pedophiles? What the I mean, I see the similarities. Yeah. Disgusting. Wow. What the hell? Well, I mean, good on them to change it. That's disgusting.
So, yeah, that was a pretty unfortunate thing. I mean, absolutely an accident. I
don't think that was intentional.
Toward there, but because of that, it was obviously a bad look. It seems Blizzard responded to that situation really, really quickly.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which is why we now know that basically, within a calendar year, we will be on the cusp of player housing in World of Warcraft as a feature that we
Jesus
can play,
Christ,
honestly
Josh.
Really damn exciting. And with that, back to the rest of the episode. They also asked Holly on console,
That's a crazy
as well
story.
as poked for plans on a graphics overhaul, and basically Holly said they're constantly exploring options for console from an engineering perspective because they would like WoW to be playable by everybody, but there's nothing to announce there. I mean,
consoles will happen eventually. Console is literally a PC at this point. They have NVIDIA graphics cards in them, NVIDIA or AMD, depending on what system you have, and it's literally a PC. It's a PC. You can even plug a keyboard and mouse into these things, so there is no reason for World of Warcraft to not be on console, and anybody who hates the idea of it, I think they're crazy. How could you not want more people playing this game? The more people that play, the better the experience. I'm totally all for it, and I hope they do it. And one thing is, if it does hop over to console, I would think the Game Pass World of Warcraft bundle is coming. The Game Pass being part of the sub for WoW, I think that's going to be a thing. That's going to be a thing. First step would be of course, getting it over to console and then converting it over to Game Pass as well.
Obviously, with the Microsoft deal, I think it's
You
only a
can play
matter
with a
of time.
controller.
And
You can play with a controller more, and that's right. And now, I don't know how efficiently you can. I have seen people do it where like they literally make hotkeys and figure out how to do it in a really good way where they can play. I still think keyboard and mouse is the ultimate way to play WoW. But yes, it can be played on a controller. That's true. There are add-ons and there are in-game things to do that now.
And WoW actually does work surprisingly well on a gamepad. Anyway, as for the graphics, they basically said that, well, WoW players kind of like it how it is, so they're iterating and updating within the current style rather than any grand overhauls. And yes, it's very easy for people to say, hey, why is WoW not running on Unreal Engine 5? Which is really a ridiculous thing.
Yeah,
that
why?
would not make any sense for a game like World of Warcraft.
Why?
Iteration is absolutely the way to go. Yes, it's the case that there's likely a few limitations, but we're definitely better iterating from here. The last bit of detail then is from PC Gamer, and it's for the drive feature, basically our Mario Kart within WoW. So the cars are going to be 4 to 5 times faster than the ground mounts, so Blizzard are pretty confident that even without flying, which it doesn't seem will be flying in Undermined, but even without that, they're pretty confident the players will enjoy movement. And it's also extremely Mario Kart because one of the things they're experimenting with is giving you a big speed boost, they say a huge speed boost, as a reward for holding a long drift, which is,
that's cool.
I mean, yeah, full-on kart racing.
Yeah,
game.
it's literally Mario
totally
Kart.
here for that. And of course, they also confirm we're going to have
I think this will be cool. You take away flying, that's fine. If you're giving us something dynamic to ride around on besides a flying mount, I think people will be completely, unbothered by it. And then people said, well, are these going to be dynamic and everything outside of Undermined? If I had to guess, I'd say no. They probably won't be, in terms of speed at least. They might still be able to, drift and do all that shit. But the speed that they're talking about and the way they talked about it, it sounds like it's going to be an Undermined limited speed. And then outside of Undermined, it'll be a little bit less. Maybe you'll still have a boost ability and stuff, but I don't think it's going to still be like 300% more, than what current ground mounts are.
quests that are races and all of that stuff.
Extreme racing
but
tournaments.
if that does worry you, well, gameplay-wise, they did say that there is an NPC passenger who can help in some of those locomotion things. Surprisingly, though, and not always for the best of reasons, we do have some other topics to talk about, like Warcraft 3 maybe slightly deforged. That was a great apology that Blizzard made for Reforged,
What?
right? I mean, it took a while, but finally they fixed the game.
Look, you know what? WoW would be Blizzard would be the ultimate company if they literally came out with Warcraft 3 deforged. What a great thing. I guarantee you it would help their sales. It would, because they'd be literally memeing on themselves. They'd be someone admitting, like, yeah, we kind of fucked up the Reforged thing. Here is Warcraft 3 deforged for you. Yeah, that's right. I don't think that's, obviously they're not going to call it that. But it's basically just new animations and everything on the old game. It's a new skin on the old game. It's the same thing that Microsoft did with Age of Empires, and they did a great, great job with it. So, yeah, seeing them do this with Warcraft 3, I think was an obvious next step.
Fix the game. Well, it's kind of time to ruin the mood just a little bit. Some people took a closer look at the press shots after booting the game, and they noticed that something did not line up. So take a look at these screenshots. Now look at the actual assets in-game. Those were hand-painted concepts, or at least they were quite heavily touched up. They are not remotely representative of the game that people actually shipped. And that did mean that whenever I was looking at Warcraft 3 stuff and I was really excited, yeah, I was just looking at something that's not what's actually in the game. I mean, God knows how something egregiously bad like that happened. It's kind of mind-boggling.
Here we go again.
Maybe somebody in marketing somehow used mock-up screenshots instead of real ones. But one thing does come to mind. There's a term from a while back in the games industry called bullshots, where basically it's a screenshot, but it's also bullshit and it's not representative. That is actually what happened here. And, well,
they clickbaited everybody. It's clickbait. That's what it is. It's clickbait. They got everyone to download it based on these screenshots that are not actual, any representation of anything actually that happens ever in the game. That's what happened here.
Looking through things, it's extremely clear the RTS team did not have the manpower to actually do what a lot of people thought. And looking at the player responses, the resounding reaction to Reforged 2.0 is that it's a step in the right direction at least, but it is still full of glaring omissions. There are some fixes, like the patch notes claiming that it works in macOS, that are just false, because it doesn't.
Oh, shit.
There's also features added like UI scaling, but that aren't that well considered, like, say, having separate minimap scaling. Then even weird things like the in-game custom keybinds feature, which is great, but is completely missing an inventory key, which is just weird. Players are also reporting critical bugs that just weren't there before. Things as insane as just logging out of their accounts after they finished a campaign mission, which is rather inconvenient, and, of course, as simple as just random crashes. There are waves of complaints about the AI upres textures as well. Some of them have got clear errors that should, in a finished product.
Yeah, Moorhan, I agree. Games did, what's it called? Show scenes that were not from the actual game footage. A lot of times there was small text at the bottom that would say like not actual game footage, or the opposite would happen when they're showing something. They would say this is like actually rendered in game. You always see those subtexts at the bottom. I just think this was probably a misstep where they should have just had that text at the bottom. They just oversaw it. They didn't think about it, and it's a slight oversight. But I don't think it's the end of the world with this.
To either be regenerated or have
Glad I don't play. I don't play it either.
Or be touched up by an artist. There are inconsistent frame rates depending on which assets are on screen, and just lots of odd, like shippable bugs, but odd ones, and there's too many of them. And it's really becoming clear that time and resources were an issue here. One strange example is somebody in the subreddit pointing out, well, what they think is AI-generated mistakes on promo art, but actually looking at the promo art, I think it's clearly not that. It's just undercooked art that somebody signed off on. Stuff like the trolls having too many fingers, where I look at it and it doesn't actually seem to be an AI mistake or something like that. It just...
Why does he have too many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 5 fingers. What are they talking about? Too many fingers. I don't see that. Am I tripping?
Seems, well, you needed some more QA because trolls don't have that many fingers.
Oh.
So the verdict...
Trolls don't have 5 fingers. Okay. All right. I got it.
As a whole...
Trolls have 3. That's right. Yeah.
2.0 was a great idea, right? And that it is welcome.
I'm using my human brain.
Not finished. And if you take a look at the credits, you basically see why. There's a whole new segment of the credits that has a new 2.0 section. The RTS team there is 3 people.
Oh,
yes.
God.
So if you've been wondering why any of these goofy things have happened, 3 people.
Oh, man. Brad Chen, Clayton Stone, and Dylan Binder. I feel 3 people were assigned to this. Holy crap. What a shitty assignment. I hope they got bonuses. Oh, man. See, guys, be careful when you guys are bitching on forums and shit. Try to be... These guys got people... They got a family to feed. You got to get these people fired. Try to be a little bit... And understand, there's only 3 people doing all this shit. For 3 people, it's not bad. They should have had a team the size of this entirety right here.
Majority of the credits are outsourced to 2 others.
Like more than just the RTS
studios.
team.
Of course, no shade in them specifically, but the heavy use of outsourcing things instead of hiring full-time devs has been blamed for issues across Microsoft's entire portfolio. And one example there is ZeniMax Workers United, that union, which is comprised of Bethesda QA staff, who actually just went on strike this week, partially in protest of the overuse of contractors impacting their work. So... Not perfect, but, I mean, come on, man, it's 3 people on the RTS team. I don't blame them whatsoever. There needs to be more people on that team. So it's frustrating that as a whole, Blizzard is just unwilling to invest the resources to do this right. I mean, even if you look at something
It's kind of fucked because I really thought they would use Microsoft's resources here. I wonder how much entanglement there is between the 2 companies right now. Because Microsoft owns them. They're the parent company, and Microsoft had a team way bigger than 3 doing the entirety of that whole Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, all that stuff. They didn't call it Reforged. They call it, I don't know what they called it. But they redid the entirety of the games, and those were like, everybody said they were amazing. They got such good reviews on them. I thought they would use the same team and just say, hey, here's the Blizzard version of Age of Empires. Go ahead and fix this up, make it look the same way. I guess they didn't do that.
Age of Empires, there's a lot of outsourcing.
I didn't pre-watch this, but I mean, he's saying the same thing probably right now.
There, but it is kind of long-term partner studios that they work with, and it's absolutely of a larger sort of scale than what's going on here. Yeah, it's good, but it feels like it's ticking a box so they can move on. Not something of
definitive
a proper
edition,
scale.
that's what it's called.
So I guess here's to hoping the RTS team can get these issues sorted out, and hopefully Blizzard takes it a bit more seriously. Okay, let's move over to unannounced Blizzard game news. We've got a job listing that's got an interesting update. So we had heard that there's a StarCraft shooter in the works, but we didn't know that it was open world. Now, funnily enough, Activision Blizzard's other shooter, Call of Duty, recently experimented with some open world segments, which...
open world? You know what would be really cool? What was the Hell Droppers? What the fuck was it called? Now it's kind of fallen off, but what was it called? That you drop in and you fight the Zerg that's constantly coming at you? Helldivers, yes. Could you imagine a StarCraft version of Helldivers? I mean, this freaking franchise is like legitimately built for that. Holy crap, I'd play that shit. I would play, for democracy. I would play this for sure. If they released a online, always online version of a World of StarCraft first person shooter, I would play that. And I'm not even like a big FPS guy, but I would totally play that just because the lore and everything, it would just be so badass.
Actually, in that case, worked out pretty well.
Stuff with the,
So
yes,
anyway, it
exactly,
seems that they want
exactly,
open
Boran.
world like
Servers are
experience
up, nice.
for a job
We'll be on
listing
there
anyway.
soon.
The role that was advertised was for an associate design director of innovation, and there's a really pithy quote in it about David Bowie, you know, doing things slightly out of your depth. What it does, though, is it asks directly for somebody who will, quote, selectively target key areas of innovation that have shown potential but have not yet permeated the AAA space. So, I don't expect this to release before 2029, but I do expect it to be unique. And if I think StarCraft, if I think shooter, and I think a degree of open world, well, you're going to be a shooting dude of some sort, right? It's StarCraft. That generally means larger battles between sides. Maybe it's some sort of dynamic battlefield. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
anyway,
like I described.
This is on top of other job entries for other projects which cover a much broader range of things, like combat for a mission-based game with AI companions and a design director of...
I'm not going to lie, that sounds like a mobile game. A mission game, unannounced mission game, combat. Yeah, probably just a mobile game.
And a design director of systems and economy for a live service game. Who knows? Maybe we'll hear more at a BlizzCon 2025.
A lot of these end up being mobile games, unfortunately.
But to be honest, given that they've burned themselves with the unannounced survival game, I've got a feeling they won't announce things too soon.
Yeah,
and the next thing's a bit of a business update. You may have already noticed this, actually, on Battle.net, because, well, Battle.net is getting a new fully-fledged AAA RPG in February. Of course, it's not a Blizzard game. It's an Activision game.
Yep, it's right here
Avowed,
on Battle.net right now.
RPG from Obsidian. That's, of course, the team behind Pillars of Eternity, Fallout New Vegas, and The Outer Worlds. And in this case, Avowed is actually set in the world of Pillars of Eternity, which is really good. People love the Pillars world. And it also marks the first
game actually looks cool.
Xbox-owned game to land on Battle.net, right? One that's got nothing to do with Activision.
Has anyone played this yet? It does look like a very cool high fantasy world to play in. I've never heard of Avowed until recently, which is probably why Blizzard put it on the Battle.net store, because there's a lot, you know, WoW players, people who are on BNet a lot of times, they like that high fantasy world stuff, and Avowed kind of fits that genre, right? So they're putting it on there. Hey, maybe we'll catch some of them, and they probably have.
Or Blizzard, and this does make complete sense. Battle.net is, I'd say, likely second only to Steam as a launcher for PC games. There's a gigantic untapped audience there, and come on, revenue splits. You'd rather keep that in-house than just give Gabe Newell a whole bunch of money so he can have another super yacht. And actually, that's not me just generically joking. Turns out Gabe's actually got a whole fleet of yachts and an ocean exploration vessel. Anyway,
not a Saudi prince. Oh my god, this is the guy who owns Steam, but it's American game billionaire Gable Newell. Yes, oh my god, look at that. What a glorious ship. But that's just one of 6 vessels. What the hell? This guy's got an entire fleet of ships, man. The rich get richer.
Anyway, enough of yachts. What I would expect is that if this sells well, we're probably going to see more of Xbox's games ending up on Battle.net, and that's especially the case because Battle.net has now got a Gamepass integration. It's one that's way better than the...
Ooh, look at that. World of Warcraft on Game Pass coming soon.
The actual Xbox app, which, you know, is pretty much the worst thing. And it also does mean that if you want Avowed, but you don't want to pay any cash, I guess you could buy Avowed for about 1.5 million World of Warcraft gold. And in fact, this even calls back to a very early idea, one that I'm sure they're kicking themselves over. 24 years ago, Blizzard thought about letting other games on Battle.net. Like, they actually thought about that. They were close to making Steam before Steam was even a twinkle in Gabe Newell's eye.
Wow.
That's actually why it's called Battle.net and not Blizzard.net or something. But
oh my
at
God.
least now they're actually going in that direction. But okay.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Holy shit, they would have been worth billions of dollars.
Okay, that's it for today. If you want a recap on the genuinely substantial direct stuff, which is amazing for World of Warcraft, I give my rundown on all of that in this video, so check it out next.
That was a good video. Nice little summary of things. Some interesting... The FBI thing I was not expecting. Battle.net getting Game Pass? Maybe a step in the right direction, guys. Maybe. Game Pass is awesome. I have it, and I have my WoW sub, so if they ever integrated the two together, I'd be saving a decent amount of money, so I'd appreciate it if they ever did that. But great video from Bellular. I'll link it in the chat.